Is there not an entire section on this subject?
Yes, but that's what's unfair. I may have stated my mind about ether, for example.
Is your book for sale in the back?
Yes, it is.
Have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
I'm not sure. I just go and try and do a better job.
Say it like you mean it. This is my Bible.
Yo, Trey.
What up?
I got something to say.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Let Me Tell You, episode 89. I'm your host, the Evangelical Norm. So, it has been, it's still, how do you describe anymore the week that was, right? It's almost like, I think about, like, the old MTV show, what was it, the My Sweet 16 birthday parties, where every rapper's trying to outdo the other guy in parties for their kids at 16 years old, and then you've got to go, well, now this party's got to be better than the last one was, and it's like almost as if every week, and again, I'm not saying that the calendar is sentient or anything like that, but it just feels like each week is like trying to top the last one, and they're just getting crazier and crazier and crazier. So, I mean, there's 150 different things we could talk about that has gone on in the news this last week. We've still got lawsuits going on about election results and assumptions about software and all. The reality of it is, and we're just going to leave this, and we'll get a little more into it, because Trump's legal team is still saying we've got evidence, but they're not giving us evidence. What we're going to release so much evidence, we're going to release the Kraken, but then it's not coming. And again, this is they're doing the same thing that the mainstream media tends to do, is they just say a bunch of stuff and don't give you any proof that any of this stuff is actually happening, just with the hopes that if we say it enough times that it is, you'll believe it. It's gaslighting at its finest. And I've never been one that says it doesn't happen on both sides. I'm the one that says it is happening on both sides, but it seems like each side refuses to see their own gaslighting on their own, right? And so this is the problem, is everybody seems to belong to their own little cult on whichever side. You're either a leftist, a liberal, or you're on the right and you're conservative, or you're part of the Trump cult or whatever. Nobody's willing to look at what is actually literally happening and find a place to stand in the middle, because that is actually where we should be. Don't take Mr. Miyagi's old proverb to heart of squish just like grape, because the reality is that when you're on whatever side you're on, they are literally squeezing the life out of you. Does it make sense? Right? So we'll see how that plays out. I mean, there's another couple of weeks before each state has to have, and again, this is our legal procedure. This is what's laid out in the Constitution. Each state has until, I think, the 13th of December to certify their elections. Some have already certified, some have not, some will be. We've seen the hand recount in Georgia that didn't change any of the results, anything like that. The reality of it is, it's going to come down to the fact that Joe Biden has won this election. Was there some sketchy stuff that happened? Absolutely. If you're denying that, you're again being intellectually dishonest. If you're denying that nothing sketchy, or you're implying that absolutely nothing sketchy happened. Was there enough sketchiness that it changed the election? I don't think so. I don't think anyone's going to be able to prove that. And if it does, hundreds of thousands of people are going to jail. Because that's the only way around to logically play this out, if that is the case. I don't think that's going to happen. We'll see. We'll get an episode probably next week or maybe the week after that, strictly on, I really want to get more in depth on the things that Trump's legal team is saying. I mean, if they'll give me some evidence and not just the same old allegations, then okay. will look at it. But they can't just keep saying, well, Dominion software and this and that and affidavits. Okay, granted, affidavits are eyewitness or, individuals saying this is what happened. That's great. Now we've got to let that play out in courts. That's evidence. I would consider an affidavit of someone saying, and hopefully they're saying it truthfully, that this is something that happened. That I'll take as evidence. If you're just telling me that this Dominion software was created in Venezuela to do this thing, but you cannot show me hard evidence that that's what it did, then I can't trust it. I can't believe you, right? And so we have to wait and see. And I'm honestly at this point, with things I'm hearing today, and I've got to sit down and listen to the news and these things of different people on Trump's legal team being thrown under the bus. And I mean, I already heard one show my wife was listening to this morning talking about that this person was not really actually officially a member of Trump's legal team. Okay, whatever. That automatically goes you're distancing yourself. So all that said, longer than I expected to take into that, but we'll get more into that as the weeks go on, and either evidence comes up or the obvious lack of evidence is shown and we move on. But at some point in time, after December 13th, we are going to move on. Those elections are going to be certified. Somebody's going to be named president. Most likely it's going to be Joe Biden, which means Kamala Harris, and then we'll go on. And that's all there is to it, and that's the thing. But this week I want to talk about it a little bit more. And I really kind of struggled with what I was going to name, come up with a title for this episode, and there's still possibilities floating around in my head. Honestly, I don't know what we're going to call this episode yet. My initial thought was Ello, Guvnah, right? Because we have got some crazy, crazy governors doing some really stupid stuff out there. And they're all just and they're Democrats. We'll go with that. But even my Republican governor here in Utah, I'm not real happy with the ridiculous stuff he's saying. He's declaring state of emergency, but he has the prerogative of determining what is and is not a state of emergency. And I feel, and it really is leaning into tyranny. But that's happening on both sides. And again, today, the three people that I'm going to talk about, tyrannical governors, they're all Democrats. And, you can accuse me of bias later, but I'm not a Republican. So I have no problem taking them down. These are just the guys that are putting their faces out, or girls that are putting their faces out in the news. First of all, Gretchen Whitmer, is she Wisconsin? Yeah. Wisconsin's governor. I don't know. Whatever state she's in. She's just trying to shut crap down. And then again, she shuts stuff down, but yet her husband is out doing whatever the heck he wants to do outside of, the guidelines of what she's given for the rest of the state. And, and again, all these people trying to cancel Thanksgiving, don't do Thanksgiving with your families, just stupidity. But the thing with Whitmer right now, what's got her in the news, is there is actually a group of Republican legislators in her state, and I keep wanting to say it's Wisconsin, but I should have looked it up. I know it's Wisconsin. It's Wisconsin. She's in Michigan. What? Yeah, she's the governor of one of those states that really I don't really care all that much about. So yeah, there you go. But there are a group of Republican legislators that are bringing articles of impeachment against her for these draconian shutdown, lockdown tactics that she's using. These things that she's saying, you can't plant your gardens, you can't do, just all kinds of stuff that she's come up with, that you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't. Here's the deal, and I said it last week. You better start kicking in on my mortgage if you're going to tell me how many people I can or cannot have in my home. This is my home. I pay for this. I pay for the taxes. You cannot tell me how many people I can or cannot have inside my home. Send the cops. Because you're going to have to put that stuff on the news. You're going to have to deal with that narrative, because it's getting to the point that there's a breaking point. There is literally a breaking point. And The reality is there's been, apparently attempts or a planned attempt to kidnap this governor, Whitmer. Some, crazy right-wing group of guys that wanted to kidnap her. We're going to kill a bunch of people. All this really wacky, crazy stuff, and that's not acceptable either. That's not how we should be dealing with this. But that is the tension is pushing people to that, And again, all kinds of people were excusing rioting and looting and all this stuff because that's what happened is the tensions got pushed. And I can recognize a point being made there. I don't know that I 100% agree with it, but I can see the point. But if you're going to make that argument, then you got to see that it's the same thing on this side. And if something breaks out, which I'm not encouraging and I do not condone or anything. I didn't condone rioting and looting. I don't condone kidnapping attempts or anything like that. But you've got to be able to understand the stress and the pressure that is pushing that to that point. I mean, it's not coincidental that there are a bunch of people talking about civil war in this country again because of both sides of this being pushed in these directions. So we'll see. Apparently, there's only a few legislators in Wisconsin that are pushing for this, but we'll see. I don't know that they've got enough support to actually impeach this governor. But I mean, at this point, I think they have the right to do so. I mean, it's part of the government. You want to bring articles of impeachment. We just did it against the president. We've done it multiple times against other presidents, and now we've seen other governors, Blagojevich and guys like that who have been impeached, arrested, and so on. And so we'll see it play out. We'll see what happens with her. Then we've got Gavin Newsom over here in California, on the other side of me, and I really do not like name calling. I don't like groups that call people names. I just don't. I think it's immature, stuff like that. But I have to admit that I laughed out loud last night watching Cross Politic as they interviewed Pastor Rob McCoy of one of the Calvary chapels there in California that called Gavin Newsom Governor Mussolini. I admit I laughed out loud, but I do still think it's kind of immature to be calling people names like this. But Gavin Newsom has put in all of these crazy mask mandates and guidelines and restrictions that people can and cannot do. Restaurants can only have so many people. You have to wear masks, this and that. This is the state that was telling you, to take your mask down, take a bite, put your mask back up, and eat. And then here he is with apparently this is a group of health professionals in or the people on his task. I don't know. It had something to do with health professionals at this dinner. No one's wearing a mask. They're in a restaurant that apparently should have been shut down or something. I don't know. But the hypocrisy stinks to high heaven of what this guy is doing, and it is really, really irritating people to the point that, I mean, you seriously self-parody. It's a perfect example of self-parody. This is the reason why Babylon Bee is going to go out of business, because you just can't write this stuff anymore. People are doing it. Satire is dead because it's closing in on reality. And this is just, I mean, I don't know. Come on, man. In the words of our soon-to-be president-elect, because he's not president-elect yet, he has not been recognized. He will be, I'm pretty sure, but he's not president-elect, and there's no such thing as an office of the president-elect. Nothing constitutionally recognized. He has no authority at this point in time. Okay, sorry. Rabbit trail. Squirrel. So, Gavin Newsom, just ridiculous. The things that are going on. These governors that are like, well, I'm going to put this in because of and then they don't pay attention to it. I mean, so many of these guys have been busted. Cuomo did it early on, and Whitmer with her husband, and so it's like, why do you think that you are above the law? And again, here's the reality: is this isn't law. None of this is law. These are executive orders that on any other side, if it were a Republican doing something, they would probably be saying the same thing on the other side. Well, no, you can't do that. Da, 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 da. This is not law. And half of these things that they're trying to say completely overstep the constitutional authority that these people have, especially in shutting down churches, telling people they can't sing. You can go to church, but only 25%, and you can't sing. No. We have a First Amendment that says you cannot do that. Congress shall make no laws, and your executive orders definitely do not affect the church. The First Amendment right that the churches have to gather together, to sing, to do what it is that they do, and you absolutely do not have a right to tell me what I can and cannot do within actual legal bounds inside my home. No, I cannot run a meth lab inside my home. I can't. You can send the cops and shut that down and take me to jail. But you cannot tell me how many people I can and cannot have inside my home. Like I said, you're going to need to put some money down on my mortgage and start paying my rent if you want to be my daddy. And that's all there is to that. And then we get to the cream of the crop. Rise to the top. Never eat a pig because a pig is... Oh, sorry. Jump around. This dude, Andrew Cuomo, I mean, just this last week he did. I really recommend you guys go watch. They did an interview with Cross Politic yesterday. Their episode from yesterday, Sunday, the 22nd of November. They did an episode where they interviewed Pastor Rob McCoy in California, Calvary Chapel pastor that is, pushing back against Newsom's mandates and so on. But they did a lot talking about, and they went through highlights of a press conference that Cuomo had last week, where, he just open foot, insert mouth. Again, this is a guy that has absolutely no idea how ridiculous he looks, how ridiculous he sounds, and how just... What's the word I'm looking for? It's beyond arrogance. Arrogance is the word for it, but he goes beyond arrogant. And the things that he talks about. One, he got into an argument with one reporter over schools opening and whether, de Blasio is closing schools. He said schools were going to be open, and there was orange zones and red zones and all this stuff. And he was just like, well, if you were, just extremely condescending. Anything that if Donald Trump did, people would be up in arms. And then yet people want to give this man... he's the opposite of the coin of Donald Trump. They are the same guy, just on, and a few years ago they were on the same side of the coin. But they're the same freaking dude. But yet he gets lauded and Trump gets lambasted. And again, I'm not a fan of either one of them. So I'm not defending Trump. I don't have a dog in the fight. I just want people to be consistent. If you're going to dog one of them, you got to dog the other one. Or if you're going to praise one of them, you got to praise the other one. Because they're doing, didn't you listen to the last round, meathead? Pay attention. You're saying the same crap that he said. There I've gotten Eminem and House of Pain references into this episode. So there you go. I should win some kind of bet, some kind of an award. Somebody shoot me, send me a $25 gift card to, Rapzilla. Or do they sell stuff at Rap? Send me a $25 gift card to Wrath and Grace for all my hip-hop references. So the arrogance and the condescension with this guy, and then he goes on to blaming everybody. Well, if you just wore a mask and you just social distanced and you did, then none of this would be a problem. Okay, so it's your fault, is what he's saying. And then he doubled down on that by saying, if you don't eat the cheesecake, you won't have a weight problem. Really? Are you serious? Are you really gonna get that? That's the soundbite you want to go with, Guvnah? Really? Come on. And then there was something else, and I completely. It's just like it's gone out of my head. There was some other. He just literally was just talking about, if you really love your family, stay away from each other. Don't. I seriously. I guarantee you this dude is not having Thanksgiving by himself at his home with just his wife or whatever. I promise you. Old brother Chris from from wherever is going to be over, and they're going to have a great big Cuomo family Thanksgiving, and they're going to. Here's my prediction: they're going to try to hide it. They're going to do somewhere in the backwoodsy, some hidden away, Vermont, West Virginia, somewhere. They're going to rent someplace, and they're going to go. Somebody keep an eye on this guy. Find out where he goes to have his great big Thanksgiving, because he thinks that he can mandate this because he's giving down. He's the Marie Antoinette. Let them eat cake. Give the peasants just a little bit of something because I care for you, but I'm going to go do my own dang thing. And this is what has the American population so upset with government, with media, with all of this crap. Because you're giving us something, but none of these people are doing it. You're expecting us to fall in line with the tyrannical orders that are being mandated, and then none of the rest of y'all are doing it. You're just out there doing your own thing, whatever you think you want, and you think you can get away with it. You're the same thing as Donald Trump, who's like, because I'm rich, I can grab him by the hoo-ha. And these guys are like, well, because I'm rich and I'm government and I'm governor and I'm this, I can get away with telling the people to do something, and then I can go do my own thing. And they all do it. They all do it. But I know somebody's going to defend them and go, oh, no, they do. Oh, no, no. No, we've got evidence. We have real evidence. Unlike the evidence that Trump people keep talking about voter and blah, blah, blah. Those are allegations. We have like pictures and video and all kinds of stuff of these people doing completely the opposite of the things that they think they can tell you to do. And it's time for it to stop. I think, again, they all need to be fired. You're all fired. Every single one of you. It's time to just clear out the government and start over again. Brand new people. People who have never served in public office before. And get some brand new... I'm not saying do away with the government. I'm not saying we want anarchy. I'm saying we need to do away with these people who have been doing this for years and years and years and think they are somehow entitled to do whatever the hell they want. Pardon my French. That was a French. So, and with all of that, I'm going to just finish off by saying Happy Thanksgiving. It is coming up this week, and I'm going to tell you to resist everything that your governors and governments and local authorities and so on are putting into place. Have a big Thanksgiving with your families. If I saw some guy on Twitter the other day was asking the question. He's like, serious question. I haven't seen my grandkids in 8 months, and I haven't seen my family, and this and that and da da da. And should we get together? And I was like, absolutely yes, please. And here's the deal. Monitor yourselves. Look at your health. If people are starting to show symptoms, because if you don't show symptoms, you really can't spread. It is symptoms like coughing and sneezing and runny noses and stuff like that, and people who don't wash their hands when that. Those are the things that spread the virus. If you're not showing symptoms, you're not likely to spread the virus. So pay attention to symptoms. Pay attention to temperatures and stuff like that. If you don't feel good, then don't go be around your family that is high risk and so on. If you're showing, symptoms, coughing, sneezing, stuffy head fever, if you need NyQuil, stay home. Stay home. This is common sense stuff. It's just like going to work. If you don't feel good, if you're exhibiting symptoms of someone who is sick, don't go to work and make the rest of your coworkers sick. You stay home. You drink, you take your NyQuil and you eat your chicken noodle soup. And you do everything that Mom used to tell you to do. Wash your hands. Wash your filthy hands, people. Do this. But get together if you can. If nobody's showing symptoms, if nobody is sick, then please get together and love your families. Spend time with your family. Spend time with the people you love. Snuggle and cuddle and nuzzle or whatever it is that you do with your grandkids, with them babies. Love them babies. Let them know. Let them be with grandma and grandpa and auntie and uncle and so on. Have your get-togethers, but use common sense. If you really are, if you're such a high risk and you're afraid, then wear a mask or do something like that. Or stay home if that is the case. But don't think that you should be able to mandate that everybody else, because that's not right. It is absolutely not right to try to lock down everybody who is healthy, everybody who has a very slim chance of getting or dying from this virus. Again, and now I'm going to get, oh, you don't care about the people who are going. It's not that. It's not that. It's a tragic that people have died from this, but it is what it is. It's a virus, and that happens a lot. We never have these kind of shutdowns for anything else, the flu or anything. You know, again, drunk driving we haven't outlawed alcohol yet. We haven't outlawed cars. You know, obesity kills hundreds of thousands of people a year. We haven't outlawed McDonald's yet, right? I mean, again, and yeah, this is a virus, and it came out of nowhere, or actually it came out of a lab in China. We know where it came from, although China's trying to now blame it on Italy. We can still use common sense. Wash your hands. Take care of yourself. Stay away from people if you're sick. Don't get in anybody's face. You know, don't pull a Rudy Gobert and go cough and sneeze and rub and touch everybody's microphone. Which I would have done the same thing, Rudy. I ain't mad at you, brother. I ain't mad at you. It just was. I mean, that was just some serendipitous, wacky craziness that you happened to be the guy that had it and you did that and so on. So. Get together with your families if you can. Have your Thanksgiving. Don't let the government tell you what you can and cannot do with your loved ones and your gatherings and so on. Do what you got to do. Love on your family. Love on your neighbors. And use common sense. Wash your stinking hands. And don't be breathing in anybody's face. You know, if we're not getting under mistletoe and kissing strangers at this point, that's probably something that should have been done away with a whole long time ago. But get together with your families and friends and have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And as always, preach the gospel at all times. Use words. They're necessary. Until next week, Soli Deo Gloria.